Sup guys, it's Alex here, and welcome to the February 5th edition of the Bracketology update. And man, I am so freaking pumped for college basketball right now. I mean, through Wednesday or whatever, I can't remember if a ranked team lost last night, but through Wednesday, just this week, like Monday through Wednesday, we had, I think, 7 of the top 16 teams lose already, and I think only 10 had even played up to that point. So 7 out of 10 top 16 teams had lost, which is just crazy. We had Villanova losing, we had Houston losing, we had Texas losing, although Texas wasn't as bad because it was to Baylor. Then we had Oklahoma losing to Texas Tech. Then we had like Tennessee losing to Ole Miss. We had Virginia Tech losing to, I think, Pittsburgh, and just so many teams losing. It was just absolutely crazy. And that's what we like to see as college basketball fans. We like to see all this craziness happening. We like to see teams winning, shooting up the ladder, like Alabama now up to a 1 seed for the first time in I think the history of their program, up to a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, which is just absolutely crazy. And then we also have teams like Texas falling down to a 3 after being a 1 seed like 2 weeks ago. So it's just a matter of teams getting hot whenever they can, getting cold whenever they can. I don't know where I'm going with this. But either way, we are now here for the Bracketology update on February 5th. And before I get into the movement here, I want to say thank you guys for all the support on the last video that I uploaded. I think it's up to like 800 views now, which is pretty nice for this time of the year. I think these past few Bracketologies have been getting around like 500 to 600, and this one just popped off. So hopefully this video can pop off a little bit too. And before I really start getting into the bracket thing, I just want to say, in order to be able to find the Excel version of the bracket, what you do is you type in Excel bracket into Google there, click this Vertex 42 link right there, and then it'll bring the 2020 NCAA tournament bracket, and then you just have to update for all the teams, like Joe Lunardi has right there. So you just put Gonzaga at the 1 spot, Baylor at the 1 spot, and then all that stuff there. So that's how you get the bracket from Google. Without any further ado, let's take a look here at the movements in the bracket. That was a bit of a long intro, like 2.5 minutes or whatever. But either way, in Region 1, we got Gonzaga remaining the 1 seed. Boise State up to an 8. Minnesota down to a 9. Belmont now up to a 12. I think they're like 19-1 this season, and I think their only loss was to Xavier by 3. So they are looking like a potential sleeper too. We have Tennessee down to a 4. Winthrop down to a 13. Texas down to a 3. Florida down to a 7. Then over in Region 2, we have Baylor remaining the 1 seed. Oh, I also forgot to mention Ohio State had a huge win over Iowa last night. So I know I didn't really talk too highly of Ohio State in my last one. That may change in this video. But then over in Region 2, the only movement we have is Xavier up to a 7. In Region 3, we have Michigan remaining the 1 seed. UNC Greensboro new to the field as a 13. USC up to a 6. North Carolina down to an 11 after they lost to Clemson this week. Then we have Wisconsin up to a 3. St. Bonaventure up to a 10. And Villanova down to a 2. As I mentioned earlier, they did lose this week. They lost to St. John's. But over there in Region 4, that means taking Villanova's spot on the 1 line, we have Alabama now up to a 1 seed. Oklahoma State down to an 8 after losing to, I think, TCU by like 2 or 3 points, something like that. Then Loyola Chicago up to a 9 as an at-large team. They are looking pretty scary right now. I mean, they are, as an at-large team in the MVC, I think, the Missouri Valley Conference, where Drake is like the automatic qualifier in there. That mid-major conference has 2 teams in the tournament as an 8 and a 9. That is just absolutely crazy. Then UConn down to an 11, UC Irvine down to a 14, Arkansas up to a 10, Illinois up to a 2, and then Stephen F. Austin new to the field as a 15. Then if we take a look here at the bubble, we have last 4 byes of Connecticut, LSU, North Carolina, and Indiana. Last 4 in are Stanford, Maryland, Colorado State, and Seton Hall. First 4 out, we have 3 Atlantic 10 teams here. We have Richmond, VCU, St. Louis, and Utah State. And then the next 4 out are Western Kentucky, St. John's, Pittsburgh, and Penn State. Kentucky, Michigan State, Duke, nowhere to be found. So if we go ahead and take a look here at the Bracketology, we will make our predictions. But before we do that, let's go ahead and pick the food item that I want you guys to comment. If you're watching at this video, it's like 4.5 minutes in or something like that. The food item for this video will be spaghetti. Pretty simple, just spaghetti. Or you can comment spaghetti and meatballs if you want. That'll get a bonus like or whatever. I mean, I'm going to like all comments anyway that say spaghetti. But if you want to get crazy with it, you can put spaghetti noodles, spaghetti and meatballs, or just plain spaghetti, whatever you want to do, just a random thing there. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into the predictions for the tournament based off of Joe Lunardi's newest bracketology. Up first, we're obviously going to have Gonzaga here moving on past the winner of NC A&T and Prairie View A&M. Minnesota, I think, will pull off the slight upset in the 9/8. Then I think that Belmont, as I mentioned earlier, they only had the one loss this season. I'm pretty sure it is to Xavier by 3 points. I may be wrong on that. But they're like 19-1 this season. I think they can pull off the upset over this Kansas team who just isn't up to par with normal Kansas teams. I mean, they're still a 5 seed, which is just really crazy, but they just don't feel like a national championship contender this year. I'm going to go with an upset there. So then I'm going to go with Tennessee here, moving on past Winthrop. Virginia Tech, I think, will move on past Indiana. Same with Texas over Siena. Then I am going to go with Florida, moving on past Oregon. I know Florida did just lose to, I think, South Carolina this week, but I just can't get behind Oregon this year. Then Ohio State would beat Northeastern. Then for a spot in the Sweet 16, we got Gonzaga moving on past Minnesota. I think that Belmont will move on. Actually, you know what? I'm going to switch that back. I'm going to go with Tennessee. I really wanted to pick Belmont there, but I think that Tennessee can be a potential April team, which means they get into the Final Four. Just can't bring myself to get Belmont there moving on past Tennessee. I think Tennessee is just too good for that. Then I'm going to go with Texas here moving on past Virginia Tech, and then Ohio State moving on past Florida. Then for a spot in the Elite Eight, we're going to have Gonzaga moving on past Tennessee, and then Ohio State here moving on past Texas. I know in the past couple of bracketologies, I've been talking pretty bad about how I don't believe in Ohio State, but they just went on the road and beat Iowa. One game won't change my complete opinion on them, but I mean, they're putting together a pretty good overall resume, and they're the number 5 overall seed in the tournament. But then they run into the buzzsaw that is Gonzaga. So Gonzaga will be moving on here to the Final Four out of Region 1. Then if we go over here to Region 2, we'll have Baylor moving on past the winner of Montana State and Bryant. Louisville, I think, will beat BYU. Then we're going to have Seton Hall pulling off the upset over West Virginia. I think Seton Hall will beat Colorado State and then move on past West Virginia. Then Missouri will move on past UAB. UCLA, I think, will be able to handle LSU. You guys know I don't really like UCLA this year, but that is a fantastic first-round matchup for them against LSU. Then Iowa will be able to beat Grand Canyon. Clemson, I think, will pull off the upset 10-7 over Xavier, and then Houston will beat Cleveland State. Then for a spot in the Sweet 16, we got Baylor moving on past Louisville here. Then I'm going to go with Seton Hall continuing their run as a double-digit seed here into the Sweet 16. I think that they can beat Missouri. Then we're going to have Iowa with Luka Garza moving on past UCLA, and then Houston moving on past Clemson. Then for a spot in the, sorry, there's like a dog in the background barking or something like that. I don't know if you guys can hear it. But we're going to have Baylor moving on past Seton Hall into the Elite Eight. And then Iowa pulling off the 3-2 slight upset over Houston. But then Baylor will move on to the Final Four out of Region 2. So then if we go over here to Region 3, we are going to have Michigan moving on past South Dakota, obviously. Then Drake, I think, can beat San Diego State. Then Florida State, I think, will beat Toledo. And then Texas Tech will also beat UNC Greensboro. Then I'm going to go with an upset pick here. I think that Roy Williams will be able to get North Carolina moving on into the next round against USC with Evan Mobley. I think that just the overall experience that Roy Williams has as a coach will be able to get North Carolina into that second round there. It's a fantastic matchup for them. Then we're going to go with Wisconsin here, moving on past Navy. Then Rutgers will move on against St. Bonaventure, who only has one loss this season too, I believe. St. Bonaventure could be a team to watch out for. They're just running into the buzzsaw. Not really a buzzsaw. I just believe a lot in Rutgers this year. I think they'll move on past St. Bonaventure. Then Villanova will move on past Louisiana Lafayette. Then for a spot in Sweet 16, we got Michigan moving on past Drake. Texas Tech will be able to beat Florida State. Then we're going to have Wisconsin here moving on past North Carolina, and Villanova moving on past Rutgers. I really want Rutgers to pull off the victory there. Then Michigan and Texas Tech. I got a lot of crap in the comments section last bracketology that I did from a ton of Michigan fans. I feel like there's just a ton of like Michigan and Ohio State fans and that watch my videos. I mean, those two teams hate each other in real life, but I feel like Kentucky, Michigan, and Ohio State, those are like the 3 college basketball teams that like their fans are always in my comment section and watching my videos. So if you're a fan of one of those teams, thank you guys for giving all the support and, I mean, comments, even if you don't like my stuff. I mean, it's helping out the algorithm by commenting and liking or even disliking the video, so I appreciate that. But, I mean, Texas Tech, they just had that quality win over Oklahoma. I think it was Oklahoma this week. I think they still beat Michigan this year. Or right as of right now, I think that they still do. And then Villanova, I think, will be able to move on past Wisconsin. And then I'm going to still have Texas Tech here in my Final Four out of Region 3. I believe in that program. I believe in Chris Beard. They won this week against another ranked team. I believe in them. But then if we go over here to Region 4, we'll have Alabama moving on past UMBC, Oklahoma State and Cade Cunningham here moving on past Loyola Chicago. I think that Creighton will be able to beat the winner of Stanford and Maryland, which I think at this point will probably be Stanford. Then Oklahoma will move on past Liberty. Purdue will move on past Connecticut. Then Virginia will move on past UC Irvine. Colorado, I think, can beat Arkansas, and then Illinois will move on past Stephen F. Austin. So no first-round upsets here in Region 4. But then if we go into the Sweet 16, I think that Alabama can beat Oklahoma State. Then we're going to go with Creighton here, moving on past Oklahoma. Or not Creighton, but we're going to go with Oklahoma moving on past Creighton. There we go. Then I'm going to go with an upset pick here. I'm going to go with Purdue over Virginia, rematch of that fantastic 2019 Iliad game. I think Purdue can get the job done here against Virginia. Then Illinois, I think, will be able to beat Colorado. Then Alabama will move on past Oklahoma. This would be a fantastic college football matchup to watch, and I mean, it's a fantastic college basketball matchup this year as well. Alabama moves on past Oklahoma. Then Illinois, I think, will move on past Purdue. And then I am going to go with Illinois back in the Final Four again. Illinois almost made me eat my words this past, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday when they went to overtime against Indiana, but thankfully they won, so I can still say that I have Illinois here in the Final Four. I think Alabama's a really good team, but I think their tournament magic is just going to come to an end there against the player. My vote for the third best player of the year this year behind Luka Garza and then Jared Butler behind Baylor of Ayo Dosunmu. Then Illinois and Gonzaga here in the Final Four. I am going to go with the same team as I went with last Bracketology just because they haven't lost and made me eat my words yet. I'm going to go with Illinois pulling off the upset there over Gonzaga, but then Baylor will beat Texas Tech, and then Baylor will win the national championship. So there we have it. Those are my predictions for the college basketball, or the 2021 NCAA tournament based off of this Bracketology. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Let me know what your own predictions for the tournament are based off of this Bracketology in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I will see you all later.